This is Amud Yomi Gemara and Shabbos Daf Ayin Beis Amud Beis. And we're holding on the very bottom of Ayin Beis Amud Aleph as the Gemara continues multiple cases of different Aveiros, different Elamais, and their subsequent Chiyuvim. Itmar, as we turn over to Ayin Beis Amud Beis, says the Gemara, now we're going to get involved in the differences between the action that you did and that which you thought you were doing. Niskavin like bias atalosh. You bend down, you see a piece of lettuce on the ground, and you think that's what you're picking up. It's not attached to the ground. And then but in reality, this piece of lettuce was attached to the ground, and you ended up cutting it off from the ground, thereby violating the malach of kaitzer, of cutting. What's the halacha? Potter, he is potter from achatas. Lachtoch azatolish. But let's say he intended to cut. He did want to cut. He just thought it was detached. But and he caught something that was attached. Then the case is different. Rav Amar Potter, Abai Amar Chayv. Rav Amar Potter, why the Holon is kavin l'chatichadi surah? Because Lamaisa, what did he have in mind? His intention was to cut, of course, but it was to dice up a piece of lettuce for a salad. It was chaticha, loinis kavin for something aser. Abai Amar Chayv, why? Because Lamaisa, kamina l'chaticha ba'alma. Because he wanted to cut. And says Abaye, he wasn't being particular, attached, detached. That's why he is chayv. Omar Rava, let me prove you my point. Now, we know that he's potter. Says Rava, chaymer Shabbos mishar mitzvahs. There's a chomer of Shabbos over other mitzvahs. The chaymer shar mitzvahs mishabbos. There's a chomer of other mitzvahs over Shabbos. Explain it, Rava. Chaymer Shabbos mishar mitzvahs. That what? Shabbos. Also, if you do two things in one act of forgetfulness. Chayev kolachas v'yachas. Masha'enkin b'shar mitzvahs. V'chaymer shar mitzvahs. Mishabes shabishar mitzvahs. Shogag. V'loy miskavin your chayev. Masha'enkin b'shabes. So says the Gemara, let's understand the brisa that Rava just brought, which was Rava's attempt at a raya to himself, that because you had intent not to do an aveira, therefore you are potter. Amar mar. Chaymer shar mitzvah Shabbos bishar mitzvahs shar Shabbos shtayim belechad. That with regard to Shabbos, that if you did two avirais in one act of forgetfulness, chayev al kolachas v'achas mashegi bishar mitzvahs. That was a quote from the Brisa. Says the Gemara, what exactly does that mean? Hey chidami, what is the case that by Shabbos you're chayev al kolachas v'achas, but not by other mitzvahs? If you're going to tell me the case is where the one that did the Aveira did both the malachis of ksira, cutting, tchina, grinding, and he was one act of forgetfulness, can't be. What would be a parallel by other mitzvahs? Meaning a non-Shabbos din. What would the parallel be? If he ate two different Averas, Chelev and Dam in one act of forgetfulness. But the problem is, it's the same halacha. The premise of this brisa is that there's a difference. But says the Gemara, in this case, there would actually be no difference. Elo shar mitzvahs. Rather, when it comes to other mitzvahs, what is the case which is chayiv only one chatos? Ta'achal chelev v'chelev. The case is where he ate chelev and chelev, the same avera, and then you're chayiv only one. But 1 second, that's also a problem, because then what would the parallel be by Shabbos? If it comes by Shabbos, that what? Davik ksira. But again, the same problem. Then also by Shabbos, hacha chadam echayiv, v'hacha chadam echayiv. Would also only be chiyachiv of one, not two. Answers the Gemara, loilam davik ksira tchina. The case must be where he did two different aveiros. Umay sheki b'shar mitzvahs. And now what's going to be the parallel to shar mitzvahs? Because the kasha was that if the parallel to shar mitzvahs was that he did two different aveiros of chelev v'dam, the problem was then it would be the same thing that you'd be chayiv to. Says the Gemara, the parallel is Avodah Zarah. Rav Hami. Ta'amar Rav Hami, a Chiddush Avodah Zarah. Zibech, Kiter, V'nisich, V'lama Achas. If you did 3 different types of worshiping in Avodah Zarah, in one act of forgetfulness, says Rav Ashi, Einoi Chayiv Elo Achas. Explains the Gemara. So that's going to be the case. By Shar Mitzvahs, you're Chayiv 1. By Avodah Zarah, B'Helam Echad. Versus Shabbos Ksir Tchina, they're chayiv for each and every one. It says the Gemara 1 second. How are you explaining Shar Mitzvahs? V'Avodah Zarah. So now we have to be parallel. So let's continue the Brisa and use the word Shar Mitzvahs and inject Avodah Zarah. But ask the Gemara, Ema Seifa, Chaymer B'Shar Mitzvahs. But now, if the word Shar Mitzvahs means Avodah Zarah, hi Shagag b'lei miskavin Avodah Zarah echemidami. What's a case of a shogeg without kavana by Avodah Zarah? What would be a shogag? You don't know by Avodah Zarah. You thought you're in a shul, a basic knesses, and you bow down, and then you realize later it was really a base Avodah Zarah. The truth is, says the Gemara, so you didn't do anything wrong. So therefore, you did something wrong, but it was a shaygeg, and you thought you were doing your labors to Shamayim, so you would be chayiv b'chlal. So says the Gemara, Shar Mitzvahs will not work to translate as Avodah Zarah, because then the end of the Brisa will not work. So says the Gemara, Vela Chaza ad Andarta. Must be the case is, you saw a statue of the king. We're still going with Shar Mitzvahs means Avodah Zarah. We're trying to play it out in the Brisa. Says the Gemara, you saw a statue of the king, V'sagila, and you bow down to it. Says the Gemara, 1 second, if the case is that the statue of the king you accepted upon yourself as a god of Avodah Zarah, Meziru, what's the shaygig? You straight up worshipped Avodah Zarah, you bowed down to the statue. And if you did not accept upon yourself as Avodah Zarah, then Lav Klumu, who cares if you bowed down to the statue? You didn't do anything. Says the Gemara, okay, let's try number 3. Maybe the case is that you served an idol on Avodah Zarah out of Ava, out of Yira. Abaye says that worshiping of Avodah Zarah, me'avo me'yira. What does this mean? Explains Rashi. It says nothing to do with Avodah Zarah. Out of your avo and yira of another person, therefore you went and you worshipped Avodah Zarah. Abaye says you're chayiv. Well, according to Rava Damarpata, Michael Meimar, Ella says the Gemara attempt number 4 had explained the seif of the Brisa. Baimer mutter. Maybe the case is that when it says Shar Mitzvah, it's talking about Avodah Zarah. But the case is Baimer mutter, where you thought you're allowed to worship an idol. If so, what's the problem? Mashikin b'Shabbos, there's a problem. Because by Shabbos, what would be the parallel? Depata legamri. But it's not true. Ad kano ba'imine Rav Amiram Nachmin. When one did a shagag on Shabbos, Eli lechuv echadi lechuv tart. The shayla is only what level you're chayiv. Avol bivtri legamri loy. No one ever said you'd be completely potter with regarding to Shabbos. So we turn over to Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, and 4 attempts down the drain. Therefore says the Gemara attempt number 5. Ella reisha b'avedis chavim v'sefer b'shar mitzvahs. Left with no choice. We never like to do this, but we take a sledgehammer and we split the Brisa in half. Yes, the reisha is Avodah Zarah, but the seifa is a different case. When it says Shar Mitzvahs in the seifa, first the Shar Mitzvahs. We'll leave it over there. We'll pick up from here, b'siyata d'shmaya, in the next shiur.